This episode is brought to you by Decoy, an acclaimed winery in the Duckhorn portfolio. Make the holidays memorable when you give the gift of wine country with Decoy Wines. Established more than 30 years ago by legendary vintners Dan and Margaret Duckhorn, they craft their wines to the highest standards using grapes from exceptional vineyards. Ask for Decoy Cabernet Sauvignon, Pinot Noir, or Chardonnay wherever you buy wine. Or visit decoywines.com/celebrate to find all their wines near you.
Feeling frustrated after getting rejected for a credit card or personal loan? It happens way too often. That's why Credit Karma is changing the way people find and apply for cards and loans. Whether you're refinancing credit card debt or paying for an upcoming expense, Credit Karma uses your credit data to show you fresh personal loan offers that are personalized to you. On Credit Karma, you can check out multiple loan offers side by side. Members who compare loan offers on Credit Karma save an average of 30% on interest rates. The best part is that it's completely free, and comparing loan offers won't affect your credit score. Plus, Credit Karma helps you keep track of your financial progress and even lets you know if you can refinance and save money. Ready to apply? Head to creditkarma.com/loan offers to see personalized offers with your approval odds right now. Go to creditkarma.com/loan offers to find the loan for you. That's creditkarma.com/loan offers.
Before we get started, we got some big tech news this week. We are officially an Alexa skill. That's right, the Tom and Hawk Football Show Flash Briefing is now live. So go to your Alexa app, search under skills for the Tom and Hawk Football Show, and turn it on in your Flash Briefings. Then just say, Alexa, play my Flash Briefing, and you'll hear our Monday minicast directly through your Echo device.
Coming up on today's show,
we talk the New England Patriots in the post-Tom Brady era.
We've got families that might be getting a little bit too involved, and of course, the perfect marriage, football and Thanksgiving.
Plus the NFL vocab quiz.
All of that and much more coming up on another Thanksgiving award-winning Tom and Hawk Football Show.
Let's get to it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Thanksgiving edition of the Tom and Hawk Football Show. It is your boy, Andrew Hawkins, joined as always by 10-time Pro Bowler, 4-time father. Joe Thomas is in the building. Joe, what's up, man?
Hey, not too much, man. We got the most popular fat guy holiday coming up here with Thanksgiving and getting pretty excited. Having the family out to the farm, gonna cook a little turkey, gonna get after all the different sides, and of course, watch more football than I care to admit.
Spending my off time on a farm sounds like punishment to me. Maybe because I'm a city slicker.
You don't have to go out and like milk the cows every day. You know that? Like there are farms that you just like chill out and just enjoy nature and get away from city life. But maybe it doesn't appeal to you as a city slicker from LA these days.
But also your version of a farm, I want you to kind of drill in on that a little bit, because it's not, that's just what, in my mind, you're like, yeah, we're going to spend some time at the farm. That means there's just mud everywhere, pigs walking around.
No pigs. They're pretty stinky.
Like you can only wear overalls.
Yeah.
It's cold.
You can. Oh, yes. Very cold. I mean, these are all things that sound amazing to me. And it's funny that you're saying that you're positioning them as things that I wouldn't want to enjoy. Mud, animals, nature, football, beer drinking, overalls. Like those, that's my dreamland right there. That's my happy place, my friend.
But also your farm probably has like 8 bedrooms. It probably has a studio.
It does have a studio. That's where I record my shows.
An indoor gym.
Yes, indoor basketball court, full-length Olympic-sized swimming pool. I mean, when you got the space, you got to use it, right?
That's not a farm. That's a farm school. That is a prep school.
Well, that's where we spent COVID. Like a year ago when the kids were out of school, they were like, what are we going to do? I guess we go to the farm and do homeschool because it's way better there than it is being in the city.
AKA the mansion, also known as our second mansion. Yes. Yeah, I could do that farm for Thanksgiving. That makes sense.
Well, compared to LA, my farmhouse is probably the same price as your pool house, but it's probably 10 times the size.
Dude, how much family do you have come over for Thanksgiving?
So we don't make it huge. It's just kind of immediate family, like my sister and her family, my parents, my grandma. So there's probably like 15, 20 of us total with kids.
That's pretty big. I mean, but you have the space for it.
It's
What's
solid.
Your do you guys do a turkey bowl, or you guys get together, go out there?
I always played a turkey bowl as a kid. We don't have enough neighbors that are close by to like do a full turkey bowl, but I imagine
you're in a compound.
Yeah, I imagine that when my kids get a little bit older, they're going to want to do it. Like Jack, my son, who's 5, he's super excited about just sitting around and watching football all day. He's totally in that mode that Austin was a few years ago. I remember you telling me about it, where he's like so obsessed. Last night with the Monday night game, he crawled right into bed with me and he's like, Mommy promised she'd let me watch the first quarter with Tom Brady. And he was just glued. And for a kid that can't sit still for literally 5 seconds, if he was in school or if you're trying to get him to focus to do something, he'll literally sit there and watch the TV and snuggle with me, and he won't move a muscle for the entire first hour, the first quarter of the game last night, which was so cool. So I'm so excited that he's starting to enjoy some of the things that I enjoy sports-wise. And I think we're just a couple years away from doing a turkey bowl, because that's what I always did as a kid, right? Right before Thanksgiving dinner, we'd all get together with all the neighborhood kids and we'd go outside and we'd throw the football around. It was so much fun. We did that even into college. It was pretty cool.
I've never partaken in a turkey bowl. I've always wanted to. I still want to. I want to just pull up to somebody's turkey bowl and just go the hell off, like 10 tubs. They're like, who the hell? Just 472 yards, talking hella shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want the whole gamut. So maybe one of these years we're gonna do it. We're gonna set this up, bring the cameras and everything.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're not going to have the element of surprise. You need to be like a really out of shape old white guy and then go off like Andrew Hawkins style. But if you show up looking fit like you do right now, you're not fooling anybody that they're not going to get their ass whooped.
I got to go Uncle Drew. I got to get makeup to look like an old guy.
You got to wear a full old man mask.
Exactly. All right, well, let's get into our topic for today, our first topic at least. Speaking of old man, they don't have it anymore because he's in Tampa Bay. We're talking about the New England Patriots. They're back, Joe. Or are they? I guess is the question. They look really good. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They have Mac Jones, who everybody is super duper high on. But I will say, when you watch him play, he is very good. He does not look great yet, but he is very smart. He's a great decision maker. He dresses like a 54-year-old man.
Yeah, he's got the dressing down if he wants to be Eli Manning.
But my question is, are they legit? Do you look at the New England Patriots and say to yourself, yes, this team is going to make some noise in the playoffs and could potentially end up in the Super Bowl?
I say that they can make some noise, and I definitely think they're a team that you don't want to play because Bill Belichick has always been the master of coming up with these game plan specific strategies, especially on the defensive side of the football that, obviously everyone always hears about, oh, he takes away your strength and makes you play left-handed, which is true. Like there's nobody in history that's ever been better at coming up with a game plan that just attacks what you don't do very well. And they do it over and over and over again until you fix it. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of times in some of these games that they win, they put up these huge point differentials because Bill has a schematic advantage over the opponent. And it's so much less of, hey, mano y mano. Okay, this guy wins one, I win one, you might win two, we only win one. And then the score is close. He's like, I found like an arbitrage in your schematic strategy on offense, and I'm just going to continually poke at it until that small wound bleeds and you bleed to death from loss of blood right there. But the reason I don't really love the Patriots to make it to the Super Bowl, and they really need to convince me more, is one, Mac Jones, he's played well, but he hasn't elevated the level of all the people around him. And what I mean by that is he's really good with decision-making. He's hitting the passes that he should make. He's rarely making any mistakes, very few turnovers, but he hasn't been in those moments yet where he's facing a defense that maybe is showing him looks that he is not really familiar with. And he has to kind of go off script a little bit. He's playing against a Patrick Mahomes or one of these quarterbacks that can go down the field and score 5, 6, 7 touchdowns in a game, and he has to go throw for throw. And I think that's what he'd have to prove if he wants to be a quarterback that can take his team to the Super Bowl. Additionally, here's the teams that the Patriots have beat in their last winning streak that they're on right here with 5 games. Falcons, Browns, Panthers before Cam Newton, Chargers. Now that's a legit win. They won by 3. The Jets, they smoked them. And then they lost to the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, the Saints, and the Dolphins. So yes, I like their record. I like the direction they're trending, but I'm not ready to jump on their bandwagon and say, yeah, they're definitely going to be a team that can win the Super Bowl.
I think they're just benefiting from, we talked about the schedule. Their division is probably the worst division in football, right? Jets, Dolphins, Bills are good.
But Bills might be a little bit of a fraud right now. Like they haven't beaten anybody either. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I guess the other division in the running for that would be the AFC South.
South is kind of doo-doo because your Titans are frauds.
Titans and Colts, though. Titans and Colts both seem decently legit. They're probably neck and neck there. So I think they're benefiting from that. They haven't played anybody. And the thing, to your point about Mac Jones, is when he's on the field, he's not the best player on the field. And not that he has to be, but he is the quarterback. He has an incredible run game. The best thing you could do for any quarterback, I don't care if you're a rookie or a 15-year vet, is give them a running game and a defense. You're going to see the best version of them. You're going to see the best version of whoever they are as a quarterback. Now, I'm not saying Mac Jones isn't going to be great, but at the moment, he's doing really well managing the game, and they're giving him great game plans. People have compared him to 2001 Brady. I'm not going to sit up here and freaking act like I remember what the hell 2001 Brady looked like. Like,
you don't remember that? It was just yesterday.
Yeah, like we weren't focusing on Tom Brady. We have no idea what that season looked like. So I'm not going to act like I do, but I mean, we know who Tom Brady is now, and I think the comparisons are pretty ridiculous. Where are you at on the Tom Brady comparisons, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember watching a whole lot of Tom Brady in those early 2000s because I was still in high school. But I certainly remember the fact that they were doing it mostly with defense and a run game, which is kind of what the Patriots are doing right now. So I do think, though, that their defense was better back then. I think their running game is good now. But the NFL has changed a lot. There's far more great passing offenses that can rack up a lot of points. And to me, when I look at, okay, what's the one thing that the Patriots might struggle with is if they run into an offense that can score in their defense, they don't have a corresponding offense that has the firepower to keep up. And there's a lot of offenses like that now, whereas when Brady was a rookie his first few years, there was much fewer offenses with great Hall of Fame type quarterbacks that could just put up tons of points and light the scoreboard on fire. Most of those teams in the 2000s, outside of the greatest show on turf, are teams that are running the football and playing defense, because that was the method back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Is much more about toughness, beehive football, tight end and fullback, two tight ends, a fullback. We're going to smash it in there and throw when we have to.
All right, so last question on this. At what point do we decide who won? Who is it, Belichick or Brady? Like, at what point are we like, oh, this person? And it's not saying that one gets all the credit, but there's got to be a 51-49%.
Right. Who gets more of the credit? It's not that they don't both deserve tons of credit. It's who deserves more credit.
Who deserves more?
And, the case was closed after last year, right? We saw what Belichick looks like when he has a team that doesn't have Tom Brady. They stink. And then when Brady goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, all of a sudden, boom, Super Bowl. So this has changed a little bit, though. It's changed a little bit because all of a sudden you give Bill Belichick the ability to spend some money in free agency, pick up some tight ends, pick up some guys on defense, and they're looking completely different now, especially with Mac Jones, who's throwing the ball a lot better than Cam Newton was. So I think this is one of those that it's not going to be fully decided until Brady and Belichick retire, because in that case, nobody has any more things to say in their book, and they're able to just kind of write that final chapter, and we'll all be able to decide, hey, how many Super Bowls and how much success these guys have had after they split. And I think it's even more about how they've avoided bad seasons after the split than how many Super Bowls they win. So for me, as long as Brady doesn't ever have like a really crappy season, like a below 500 season like the Patriots had last year, it'll be hard for Belichick to reclaim more of the credit than Brady if Brady never has a losing season the rest of his career.
His roster is stacked, though. So I was going to say, devil's advocate, Tom Brady went down to a stacked roster in Tampa Bay. Belichick had nothing. And you can argue this year he's doing a lot with not nothing, but it's not as stacked as the Tampa Bay roster. So
yeah, I think if they win the Super Bowl this year, he's got it right now. He's definitely in the lead if they win a Super Bowl.
Remember when Shaq left the Lakers and he went and won a championship with the Heat, and it was like, oh, it was Shaq, not Kobe.
Oh, yeah.
And like we had to see, it was him the whole time. And then Kobe started, really putting it together, and he went on at some championship runs. And now no one says Shaq is still an incredible, like probably a top 3 or 4 NBA player of all time, most dominant. Mm-hmm. But we don't say it was Shaq and not Kobe. Everyone was like, oh, it was Kobe, right? So it's going to take time.
Yeah, it's one of those things that in sports, we just love to have those arguments because they aren't decided. They're not clear cut, right? If they're clear cut, you'd have the argument once and then it'd be over and you'd throw it in the trash bin. But the fact that it continues and these guys are both playing now for new franchises, it gives us something to talk about, us bozos that have a microphone in front of us.
Yes.
We get to, spit hot takes about, oh, Brady, he sucks. Oh, Belichick,
Absolutely.
he sucks. Oh, this guy's the greatest.
There's no better job than to talk about somebody else's job.
Yes.
That's our job. Our job is to talk about somebody else's job. And
I had a mailman that once told me, he said he felt bad for me that I played in the NFL because on Sundays he got to watch me work. And I'm like, you know what? That is right. He's got one up on me because as a mailman, he doesn't work on Sundays and he gets to sit at home, drink beers, and watch me work and get my head smashed in.
There's a lot of family members of professional football players and athletes in general that like to argue and like to get things going on the old social media. One of those players is Baker Mayfield's wife. She reposted an IG stories that she then deleted that said, "No one better say anything bad about Baker Mayfield after this game. I don't think I've seen toughness like this in a while. Maybe the rest of our team should take the hint and get their asses tougher." I added the asses part, but the general sense was there.
Yeah.
She then deleted. Earlier, we had a situation where Kelly Stafford had to apologize for throwing a pretzel at a 49ers fan.
Which I think is hilarious. I mean, who throws a shoe? Honestly. Who threw a pretzel?
We had Jackson Holmes making TikTok dances anywhere on God's green earth. OBJ's father orchestrated his departure out of the Cleveland Browns organization. So where are we at with family involving themselves in media narratives or within the sports zeitgeist around their family members, loved ones, friends, etc.?
I think there's always a danger for family members to use the celebrity and the platform that their husband, significant other, loved one has given them to make a name for themselves, become very popular on social media through Instagram or Twitter or whatever, Snapchat, because then you become a de facto spokesperson for the player that's on the field, right? Because a lot of times the players on the field aren't going to say anything, or they're going to speak in cliches, or like Baker after the game on Sunday,
Not say anything.
just don't even show up. And so when that happens, everyone's like looking to the next person. Hey, well, we would love to know what he thinks about this. So if that person's not talking to us or giving us like a real insight into what's going on with his brain, then maybe his wife will. And so people are going to flock to that type of stuff. And it's dangerous because as a person who's one step removed from being on the field, you're not constantly indoctrinated from the coaches and from the media members and the PR staff around you of like what you should and shouldn't say, so that you're not putting undue stress and pressure and a microscope on yourself and on your teammates. And when you do stuff like Baker's wife did, then it's something that people are going to jump on. And then it's something that Baker might have to answer for, not only in the media, but maybe in the locker room. I imagine that there was some players in the locker room who probably saw this post from Emily Mayfield and maybe had a few questions for Baker if he believed the same things that his wife did. And I will say one thing. I don't actually believe that his wife maybe thought and agreed with everything that was in that post. And that's part of the danger of just retweeting a bunch of stuff that's pro your husband or pro your brother, whoever it is. Like sometimes you just get so carried away and you're so emotional in that moment that you're retweeting stuff that looks really bad about your team because it says directly in that Instagram post that the team needs to get tougher and they should take a hint from my husband, which that's not exactly the message you want to send to your teammates.
The other thing is, and you kind of hit on it, the media, we're looking for sources. Well, I'm not, because I don't give a damn about sources. That's not what I do. I make jokes. But other people who take their job really serious, they look for sources. They look for any little insight to think, what is Baker Mayfield saying when he goes home? What is the pillow talk conversation around football? And even if it isn't exactly what Baker Mayfield is thinking, they're going to take that and infer that that is the sentiment of the household. Right. So that's where the dangers come in. And I don't know if it's right or not, because everyone should have their ability to just be who they are, think what they think. I understand that. But they're going to blow it up. Actually, I learned how to use the internet because my brother got drafted. He bought a Gateway 2000 computer. And I'm like, oh, snap, baby.
Don't even know what that is. Is that like an Acer?
It was.
What the hell is that?
Even older than an Acer. This is like,
goodness.
Internet was like really becoming a hot thing. This is like 98, 99. And I was 12. We're doing the dial-up situation. And I find a lot of stuff on the internet at that time, which, you know, for a 13-year-old boy, someone definitely should have been looking over me. But
I only imagine what your history looked like.
at the same time, it was nobody knew. My family had no idea what the internet was. They didn't know how to use computers. Like, it was our first computer ever. And so I found like NFL message boards, and they would just be talking trash on my brother. So I'd make my accounts. And the majority of my week at 13 years old was posing as a fan, defending my brother in every message board that I seen. And that's when I got to the NFL. That's why when I got to the NFL, they're like, oh, you're so good at handling fans. And I'm like, yeah, I know what the hell is out there. I know what's going on. But I was definitely one of those family members doing way too much. At least it was under a fake name, though, Joe. I'm not ridiculous. I was even at 13, I knew how to troll properly.
Yeah. See, maybe Emily Mayfield needs to make a few burner accounts like Kevin Durant.
Exactly.
Then she can trash all these fans that are booing Baker, and she doesn't have to worry about them. And she can trash their teammates. And then nobody will ask Baker any questions about it. But I do agree with what you're saying about like these family members. They're their own people. They should be allowed to have whatever platform they want. But I think for those people, the family members, it would be important for them to recognize that nobody gives a shit what you think about Baker Mayfield or his teammates until you married Baker Mayfield. So understand the reason they're listening to you, by and large, maybe 99.9% of your followers, is because they know that you're a conduit to what Baker thinks, because you're presumably sleeping in the same bed with him every single night. So that's why people want to hear what you have to say. So you have to keep that little idea in the back of your mind that I am representing the brand that is my husband Baker or Matt Stafford, whoever that is. And so the silliness that you do only adds more pressure to the person that you're trying to defend, because I know one thing about Twitter and Instagram is you're never going to win a fight on there about an athlete. It just doesn't happen. It's just going to get nasty. And the only thing you can do is drag everybody down to your level, and then nobody can understand who's the pig and where the mud is and who's got mud on their face, because everybody looks like crap.
Have you ever had a situation where a teammate's family member was going out talking mess publicly?
Yes.
In your own locker room?
You know, I remember one moment that it got a lot of attention negatively for the team. So Colt McCoy got a concussion on, I want to say it was a Thursday night football game or something like that. James Harrison like crushed him in the middle of the game. He was rolling and actually running towards the line of scrimmage, and he tried to make a late throw, and James like totally launched himself right into Colt's head. Bad concussion. Ended up playing the rest of the game. So at the moment when Colt got hit, we were dealing with a rash of injuries. It was like a mass unit on the sideline. So all the trainers were attending to other people. And this was before they had the independent neurologist that watched from upstairs. And so none of the trainers saw it. They didn't have the replay on the sidelines. And when he did the concussion tests, he checked out fine on the sidelines. Well, after the game, you could tell he had a really bad concussion and he was having a hard time with the lights. And his family saw him and talked to him after the game, I guess. And like his dad went out and like blasted the training staff for putting him back out there. And of course, that's a bad situation when the father of the quarterback is blasting the team and the training staff for putting their son back out there. But it's a difficult situation, because I imagine as a family, you want to defend your loved one, your brother, your son, whatever it is. Like, and you hate that people are saying bad things about him, and you don't have the ability to kind of understand or conceptualize like that this is the stuff that happens every single day to these people, and that no matter what you say, you're not going to be able to defend them. You're not going to win an argument with anybody. You're just going to make things worse.
Yeah, I'm trying to put myself in that situation.
Yeah, have you ever had that with a family member or anything like that?
No one in my family. Well, actually, I did, but mine was different. See, that's the workaround. And actually, I think we'll be the people that can work around it. When our sons are in the NFL, if we're still in media, it works. David Carr goes on TV.
Yeah.
Consistently and defends Derek Carr and gives his take, and because he's in the media, it's all good. Also, my brother, he was like local Cincinnati media when I played for the Bengals, and so of course the narrative on his shows would always be they need to give the ball to Andrew Hawkins more. And because he was in media, it was nobody was like, yo, man, your brother's really interfering here. It was like, oh, that's his opinion.
But I think that's different than like getting into the social media world, because the social media world is just throwing stones and calling names, and it's just amateur hour all over the board. But when you're an analyst,
I'm going to get into social media. If Austin goes to the NFL,
oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to be LeVar Ball's second coming. Are you serious?
But like if you're in an analyst role, that's totally different. And you're talking about substantive things that are on the field, like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. They said that he made a bad throw here or a bad read, but this is why it wasn't a bad read or a bad throw. Like you can defend him with substantive things, but if you're just going on there and blasting the fans or blasting his teammates, like that's never going to be a good look. Or throwing pretzels at the other team's fans.
Definitely don't throw pretzels at people because that can get you beat up. Also, the LeVar Ball is a good comp because he negatively affected his kids probably at some point because people got annoyed by him. But his kids, he was completely right. They are so damn good. I don't know if you know about LaMelo Ball and Lonzo Ball, but they're next level good. And he was completely right in everything he was saying, but people got annoyed by it. All right, so it's Thanksgiving season, Joe. Our favorite time of the year. This is probably our favorite holiday here on the Tom and Hawk Football Show, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be able to feast, eat gluttonously, and watch football all day with family, that sounds pretty good to me. And use a flamethrower. Hard to beat.
And you use a flamethrower. Like this is, I hate to position you this way, but it's the reality. You are the richest version of a country boy Thanksgiving because, you go to your farm.
It's good life.
AKA compound, AKA mansion thing that you have with butlers and stuff. I've never seen a farm with butlers. I've never seen it, but it exists.
Only if you're there.
Cook your food with flamethrowers.
They're cheap. They're actually made for burning weeds.
Oh, okay. You burn weed with the.
Well, that's what they're made for. Everything. But I use them to cook my turkey.
All right, the weed that my family burns on Thanksgiving has nothing
it looks
to do
a little
with.
bit differently. That's the California version of the weed that the flamethrowers burn.
Not me. I'm never protected. But all right, you do a flamethrower. I hate to even ask you this because it's going to turn into a 7-minute soliloquy. I don't even know if that's the right use of the word.
Yeah, it's great use of the word. Nice word.
Flamethrower. How? Why? Don't talk to me like I'm Martha Stewart, though.
Yeah. I'll keep it short. Okay. You know those big, like 20-pound propane cylinders? You ever seen them for like heaters or like grills and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So they make for like $100 on Amazon, you can buy an attachment that goes on there and it spits the propane out the front of a metal tube and you light it and it's a flamethrower. It heats to like, I don't know, 1500, 1700 degrees or something like that. And it's made for two things. It's made for burning weeds, like if you have a garden or around your house or whatever, or it's made for repairing like blacktop or seal coat because you can melt like the hot oil mix and get it to like relay on your driveway or whatever. So, of course, it is not made for cooking a turkey, but I thought that that would be a perfect use of it because I really like to use a sous vide on Thanksgiving and around the holidays because it perfectly makes all the meat every single time with perfect consistency, and you're able to cook it like a couple days in advance so you can free up the oven for mama so she can have all the space for her mashed potatoes and her biscuits and her gravy and all the dinner rolls and all the delicious pumpkin pies and apple pies, and you can buy plenty of time to watch football. So you cook it sous vide a couple days in advance. Yeah, you throw it on the grill and you take your flamethrower out. You put up maybe a little bit of fat on there, maybe some duck fat, maybe some bacon, whatever you got, and put some seasoning. And you go to town with the flamethrower for a couple minutes. You're ready to eat. Let's go.
Okay, not interested. I'd eat it. I definitely wouldn't cook it.
You would love it. If I got you behind a flamethrower, there'd be a big smile. It'd be from Pennsylvania all the way to California on your face.
I used to work in a factory. And without any training, I showed up one day and they handed me a blowtorch and were like, "Hey,
what were you guys making in the factory?"
It was a wind turbine engine factory repair company. So,
and they were like, "This guy looks like somebody who knows how to use a blowtorch."
And they just were like, "Hey, here you go." They gave me the mask. They gave me some gloves. Here you go. And I'm just sitting there I don't even remember what the hell I was blowtorching.
Were you welding or were you cutting?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell were you doing?
I just remember like, I'm going to burn this place down and I'm definitely going to be on the front of the Toledo Blade and they're going to say former UT football player who doesn't currently have home, burns down factory and causes millions of dollars of damage for the city of Toledo. But yeah, that was my only time really. And from there, I'm like, I'm good on the flamethrowing. All right, Thanksgiving. Joe, I was a receiver, so I never had to watch what I ate ever because I ran 10 miles a day at practice. So Thanksgiving came around, I just got down how I got down. Did you have to watch what you ate because if you couldn't be too fat on game day.
Yeah. I wanted to be fat, but just the right amount of fat was perfect.
Right amount of fat.
Well, for me, I was not like a receiver as far as how much I ran, but I was always a smaller offensive lineman, and the coaches always wanted me to gain weight. And so for me, it was all about eating enough to keep my weight up during the season, especially because during the season, I didn't practice, but I still exercised. I still worked out, and I'd go out and play on Sundays, and you burn an amazing amount of calories. And so for me, the rule was 3 meals a day. You got to feel like every single one of them is Thanksgiving. I have to feel like I am about to throw up after I'm done eating. That was the appropriate amount to eat.
Ugh.
It had to have a lot of sugar. It had to have a lot of processed foods, and it had to have a lot of complex carbs and protein. And as long as it had all those things in the meal and I felt like I was going to throw up, that was enough. And so for me, Thanksgiving was a holiday I enjoyed when I was playing, but it wasn't really any different than any other meal during the season.
That is wild. That is wildly unhealthy as well.
Amazingly. That was the best part about retiring, because I could get a little bit healthier and hopefully not die of like heart disease at 38.
That's how you get a farm that looks like a beach house, though. You put the time in. The funniest thing about Thanksgiving in the NFL would be, and I think about it now, like people hit me like, "Oh, are you off on Thanksgiving?" And I'm like, "No, I'm going to work through it." And you're like, "Oh, that's so messed up." I'm like, I've always worked on Thanksgiving. In football, it'd be like, "Hey guys, since it's Thanksgiving, we're going to reward you and we're going to let you out today at 1:00."
Yes. The best part was, I don't know if you guys did this everywhere you went, but they would always be like, "Yeah, we're going to give you Thanksgiving off. So you're going to come in at 5 a.m. and we're going to literally do the entire Thursday that we normally do. But instead of starting at 8, we're starting at 5
early."
Yes. That means that you can get out by 1 and you can still go home and have a great Thanksgiving with your family. And I'm like, I don't know if I like this trade-off right here. So we're still working for 10 hours today, but instead of getting to the building at 7 a.m., I have to get there at 4. I'm going to be exhausted. Or the best one yet was like, "Hey, we're going to have practice, and after practice, you can leave. We won't even watch that film." But then Friday comes when you're a little bit hungover from all the bourbon and beer and wine. We're going to come in 2 hours early and watch the film anyway. Just we're going to do it Friday morning rather than Thursday after practice. So Thanksgiving was awesome. We loved it. I loved getting together with family. And a lot of times we'd have teammates over because, as you know, there's a lot of guys that are just getting signed or they're coming from other teams. They don't have their family there. And so we would always bring those guys over to our house because my wife loved making a huge spread. We didn't usually have family in for Thanksgiving Day. They would usually come that weekend for the game if it was a home game. And then we'd celebrate on the weekend because, like you mentioned, you don't really have a whole lot of time to celebrate Thanksgiving during the week as a player. So it was really a fun holiday. I have so many fun memories because my teammates would come over and like Jordan Cameron would be like hanging out with my little kids downstairs because he had a kid. And so he knew how to handle the terrorists when they were running around like crazy. And mom and dad finally got like a 2-minute break from the little kids.
You were always really good about inviting teammates over and like,
we loved having everybody over.
And I'm a loner, so I would never come.
You're the opposite. You uninvited them. Like your receiver buddies were like, "Hey, Hawk, I don't know. Are you guys doing anything for Thanksgiving? Like maybe can we come over? My family's not here." And you're like, "No, I'm busy.
We don't
sorry.
celebrate Thanksgiving.
We don't do Thanksgiving. Sorry."
You know how Thanksgiving started? It was a massacre. Can't come over my house. I mean, my least favorite part about Thanksgiving is that there's no alone time. Like there's always so many people around. And I'm like, where the hell do I go to just get some?
You always watch a lot of film on Thanksgiving. I can weird. Oh, honey, I'll be home right at 5. I got to watch a lot of film.
Real quick, you talked about Jordan Cameron, who was a tight end that played with us in Cleveland. I was in a celebrity flag football game this summer. The Rams had something. I'm out there. I'm playing with a bunch of actors and musicians, and it was a little unfair because I'm still much better than them. And so I was playing corner on defense. And there's this like blonde, like dyed hair surfer, young kid. I'm like, look, I thought it was a YouTuber or like one of those TikTok stars. He was playing quarterback for the other team. And he had a pretty good arm. He's like rolling out. He's like slinging it. I'm like, okay. So I'm at corner and I'm like, hey, if you throw that over here, I'm taking that shit to the house. I'm picking it off. You better not. And I'm like talking much trash to this YouTube kid, right? And he's looking at me. He's not like indulging. He's just like, okay, dude. And like, he's like a little thrown off by it. But I'm like, this, can't be no more than 25 years old. But I'm like, I'm just trying to get the juices going, right? So on my team, we got Matt Leinart as the quarterback. He could still sling it, and he's throwing to me, an NFL receiver against a bunch of actors. We're like doing our thing. So we end up winning.
Patrick humble brag.
Yeah, the quick humble brag. After the game, I'm like walking over to get my stuff, and like a woman says, Hawk? And I look over and I'm like, hey. She's like, Andrew Hawkins? And I'm like, yeah. It's like, I thought that was you. I'm Jordan Cameron's sister. And I'm like, oh, Jordan Cameron, yes. My God. Yeah. She's Matt Leinart's wife. And I'm like, oh, that's dope. She's like, yeah, my son is out there playing quarterback. He's 14. And I'm like, oh, Jordan Cameron's nephew is that quarterback I thought was a 25-year-old YouTuber. And he comes over and he's like, yeah, he was like talking shit to me. And he's like, this Jordan Cameron face. I'm like, hey, man, I really apologize. I didn't know you were 14. I wouldn't have told you I was going to eat your lunch. Real quick. So we were going to do a Thanksgiving food draft. We don't have time for that. But the producers did make a list of Thanksgiving foods.
Why don't you give us your favorite protein, your favorite side, and your favorite dessert?
Okay, I will. But I do want to say, as I look at this list, I could tell a white guy made it.
Oh, because it doesn't include what? What's the one thing that you knew that a white guy made it because it didn't include it on this list?
That's a good, no collard greens on here.
Wait, I thought it was, yeah, it is. It's towards the bottom. You just didn't read far enough down. Yes.
There's no fried chicken on there.
Gave a little shout out to his black friends because that's the only thing they can think of.
There's no fried chicken on there. That's a mainstay.
Ooh, on you guys a fried chicken family?
Every time on Thanksgiving.
Really?
Every
turkey
every
and
time.
Fried chicken, or is that your only protein?
Baked mac and cheese. No, we do turkey too. Hot take? Turkey kind of sucks. I'm gonna say it.
That's why you only eat it once a year.
It's a little dry. It's not
that's
like
why you got to deep fry it.
I can't trick myself into being like, oh, I can't wait for this dry ass turkey.
Oh, dude, I hated it as a kid. You should try the sous vide. I think you'd like that. So the best way to do a turkey is to deep fry it because it locks in a lot of oil and makes it taste delicious and juicy, which the bird is not really usually. Or you can sous vide it, which is nice. It's, you put it in a bag and then you cook it in water for, 12, 24 hours, however long. And it makes it really tender and you don't lose a lot of the moisture. And then you finish it with a flamethrower. So that's another good way to do it. Not quite as delicious, but way easier.
I don't even know what that is.
Or you can just go with fried chicken and that'd be delicious too because that's
lasagna
amazing.
As well. Lasagna.
That's right. You love
Everyone
lasagna.
talks about it, but we do lasagna every single Thanksgiving. I feel like that's a black family staple. People, we fire up the lasagna.
Yeah, that's something that I learned when we became friends. I'm like,
yeah, we cross cultures here.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a cultural thing, but now I do.
Yeah, people chimed in, and I'm glad they backed me up there. The other thing is I have no idea what the hell succotash is. So it's not about what was left off of the list. It's some of the things on there. I'm like, what is turducken?
Turducken. You clearly were not a John Madden fan as a kid because he would always give the turducken to the player of the game on the Lions Thanksgiving game or the Cowboys Thanksgiving game. And what it is, it's a chicken inside of a duck inside of a turkey. And you put them all in there and then you roast them together and supposedly they're delicious. Never had one. I'm sure if somebody cooked it well, it'd be fantastic.
So tofurkey is, I would imagine, tofu turkey.
Yeah, I don't want any of that. No thanks.
Succotash. I thought that was a Sylvester the cat thing.
Suffering succotash.
No, this is good. This is least favorite cranberry sauce.
Yeah, I'm not a big cranberry sauce guy either.
Favorite dessert, chocolate cake.
Okay. Too much chocolate for me.
Favorite side, stuffing.
Okay.
With gravy. Lasagna. Baked beans. Barbecue baked beans. We do that on Thanksgiving too.
Wow. You guys hit everything. Fried chicken, lasagna, barbecue baked beans.
Honestly,
that's awesome.
It's ridiculous. All right. What about you?
So I love a fried turkey. We don't do a fried turkey every year, but if I can get it, that's my favorite protein, I would say. My favorite side would be probably garlic mashed potatoes.
That sounds
the
good.
Runner-up would be crescent rolls. Those are so amazing when you get a warm crescent roll. It's flaky, and then you add the butter to the inside, a little bit of salt on the butter.
I was going to ask your bread of choice, cornbread, rolls, biscuits. We do, I think, all of those.
So I love cornbread, but I'm I like to save that for when I'm eating barbecue, and I like to really just do the crescent rolls.
Yeah,
I like the crescent rolls with my turkey.
Okay.
It's more of a traditional thing rather than like these tastes go together type thing.
Right.
And then as far as like a veggie, I would say a Brussels sprout. I'm doing a smashed Brussels sprout the oven, which is amazing. I swear to God, if you let me do Brussels sprouts for you the way I do them for Thanksgiving, you'd love them because I microwave them to get them soft. Then I smash them, and then I put them in the oven with a bunch of chopped up bacon and maple and seasoning, maple syrup and seasoning, and it's really fantastic.
It's probably amazing. Like the farm. It's like when you say
it is amazing.
Come to my farm and eat Brussels sprouts. I'm
going to send you so many pictures of my farm and the fun we're having.
I would rather not come to your farm and eat Brussels sprouts for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Probably a lot better.
My favorite dessert, probably pecan pie. I like pumpkin pie, but I just really enjoy the crunch of a good pecan pie. That takes it over the top for me. So that's my favorite Thanksgiving things.
Sweet potatoes too. Were sweet potatoes on the list?
Yeah, sweet potatoes, but they got to have those little marshmallows on top.
Oh yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
Melted butter and marshmallows.
Happy Thanksgiving to all, and to all a happy Thanksgiving. All right, we had so much fun expanding our vocabulary that we thought, hey, let's bring it back. It is the NFL vocab quiz. All right, you know the rules. We read a vocabulary word within a sentence describing an NFL player or situation. You guess the player and situation we're talking about and simultaneously the definition of the word. I'll start it off. Let's jump into it. Joe, this quarterback has done admirably ameliorating an MVP candidate. I'll read that again. This quarterback has done admirably ameliorating an NFL MVP candidate.
Okay. So I'm guessing we're talking about Mac Jones here, and ameliorating. I think that was the word. I feel like I've heard it before. And to me, it sounds like ameliorate is like imitate, mimic, like along those lines. And since it would be this person stepping in and imitating somebody who's an NFL MVP, it would have to be somebody that either is playing as a backup, playing very well right now, or somebody that has stepped into the role of a quarterback that has now since left and gone somewhere else. So I feel really good. It means to imitate or mimic, and we're talking about Mac Jones.
Judges? Oh, no. The answer is Colt McCoy. And ameliorating, which I have no idea if I'm pronouncing correctly, means providing relief.
Oh, dang.
This quarterback has done admirably providing relief for an MVP candidate.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that was close.
It's all right.
I do like that answer, though. Shout out to Danny Boy McCoy for the great job he's done with the Arizona Cardinals, 2-3 in Kyler Murray's absence. All right, Hawk. This player revealed Belichick's skullduggery. Skullduggery. Skullduggery in new and interesting ways this week. This player revealed Belichick's skullduggery in new and interesting ways this week.
Okay. Skullduggery. Skullduggery. That sounds like a Thanksgiving food that you would eat on your farm, but I'm not going to go with that.
Ooh. Dangerously specific.
Okay, I'm going to guess skullduggery means unique thought process or something of that nature. And the player we're talking about is Julian Edelman, who came out and said that Belichick would make the receivers wear the opposing team's same color, the gloves, the same color as the opposing team so that refs couldn't see the holding. And so I would say skullduggery means unique tactics or maybe something like towing the line of cheating. I don't know. What is the definition?
Judges?
Kinda.
You got it half right. It is Julian Edelman. You are talking about the right situation, but skullduggery actually means underhanded or unscrupulous behavior and trickery.
I said
a lot of times you hear this word, you were
I said almost like cheating.
Close. You were getting warmer, like that Thanksgiving turkey, but it wasn't all the way cooked. Actually, you hear this word a lot, at least I do, being used to refer to like pirates. Trickery, unscrupulous behavior. I'm really friends with a lot of pirates. We've got a few of them coming over for Thanksgiving, and they are full of skullduggery when they bring over their unscrupulous meals that they've stolen from other people with their trickery.
I love it. All right.
But sidebar, When you were wearing gloves, did you ever think about the color of the gloves that you were wearing? So that apparently Bill Belichick used to tell their receivers to wear the same color gloves as the jerseys of the team they were going against. So it was more difficult for a referee if he kind of caught the corner of his eye to see where your hands were if they weren't properly, on the inside of the pads of the defensive player, and if you were kind of holding them around the outside of their shoulder pad.
Yeah, it's smart. Didn't do it. Just was worried about catching the football.
Never did it.
Yep.
Did you ever hear about it though?
Nope. Doesn't surprise me though. That is the Belichick way.
Yeah. We actually did this on the offensive line. So especially earlier on in my career when I used to have a pair of white gloves and dark gloves, it was one of the things that the old guys in the offensive line would always tell you, hey guys, we're playing against a white jersey team this week. Wear white gloves. You're playing against a dark jersey, wear your dark gloves because it's a little bit harder for them to see you blocking, which makes more sense for an offensive lineman. Like that's all we do is block. You get to do fun things like catch the football and score touchdowns and celebrate. And the amount of blocking that you've done in your career, although I will give you credit for a little guy, you block pretty well, but the amount of blocking you did should not consume very much space in your brain compared to the space that should be consumed by how do I get open and how do I catch the damn football?
Somehow in the NFL vocab quiz game, you spent 2.5 minutes of our 10 talking about blocking. Uncanny.
And
that is,
you're making it worse by talking about me talking about blocking.
All right. Next up, Joe. This player's prodigious Sunday made him an MVP favorite. This player's prodigious Sunday made him an MVP favorite.
So prodigious means like really good, excellent, wonderful, over the top. And Sunday, so Brady had an amazing game, but it was Monday night. Aaron Rodgers had an amazing game, but they lost. Boy, I'm trying to think who else really put themselves out there. Oh, Jonathan Taylor. He did have a prodigious Sunday. He scored 5 touchdowns, 4 rushing touchdowns. He caught another one. He is making everybody in Wisconsin proud. He's the pride of the Badgers. So Jonathan Taylor, final answer.
Judges? You are correct, Jonathan Taylor.
Yes!
Prodigious means remarkably or impressively great in extent, size, or degree.
All right, Hawk.
Yes.
This embattled quarterback will Herple his way to victory again soon. This embattled quarterback will Herple, Hirple, his way to victory again soon.
This embattled quarterback. This is like 2. Okay, this embattled quarterback will Herple his way.
What a funny word. I can honestly say I've never heard this word spoken in the English language.
Will Herple his way to an NFL victory soon? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. Means he doesn't have a victory. I'm going to go Jared Goff.
Judges? Aaron Rodgers. The definition of Herple is to hobble or walk with a limp.
Yeah.
And our man Aaron Rodgers got turf toe over the weekend. And he also lost to the hated Minnesota Vikings, and Kirk Cousins' kid Cuzzy beat him. But Aaron Rodgers will Herple his way to victory again soon.
All right, Joe, you ready? Thanks to football shibboleths, we watched one team.
No, that's not a real word.
Way more
Please.
than we want.
Again.
Thanks to football shibboleths.
Wait, what is the pronunciation at the end? Because I don't recognize that in the English language.
Shibboleths.
Shibboleth. It just sounds like you have a list.
I do have a list because I can't say the word. Shibboleths. 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 Shibboleths.
Shibboleth.
S with an S at the end.
Shibboleths.
Shibboleths.
Okay, give me it one more time.
Thanks to football shibboleths, we watch one team way more than we want. Shibboleths.
So
Shibboleths.
I think they're talking about the Dallas Cowboys because they're America's team. They're always on TV. Everybody gets to watch their games. Everybody talks about their games. It's like you being in the hot take business. If you want people to listen and watch, you talk about the Cowboys. So shibboleths, I believe means popularity.
Popularity. Okay. Judges. Oh, no. Detroit Lions. The definition of shibboleths, a custom, principle, or belief distinguishing a particular class or group of people, especially a long-standing one regarded as outmoded or no longer important.
There was words in the definition.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is going to create other versions of this game.
We're gonna be in a deep rabbit hole just searching for the meaning of the words that define the words.
I just read the definition and I
I
still have no idea what shibboleths mean. So
that reminds me of colloquialism a little bit. Like it's culturally accepted like phrases or terms that you use in like a certain area. Shibboleths. Now I'm going to use that instead.
Shibboleths. I can't even say it.
All right. This receiver. Final question for Andrew Hawkins. This receiver created a neoteric business practice this week.
Ooh, man. This receiver created a neoteric. All right. Say it one more time.
This receiver created a neoteric business practice this week.
This is for the win, too.
FTW, baby. Let's go.
All right. So neoteric. Neo means new. So I'm going to say neoteric business practice means like a new or emerging frontier or strategy or process. And so I'm going to go Odell Beckham Jr. going with accepting all of his salary in Bitcoin is the neoteric business practice that this is referring to.
Judges? Ding, 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 ding. I feel like you cheated on that
How
one.
did I
That was
cheat?
very impressive.
Thank you.
You nailed the definition and you nailed Odell Beckham, who tweeted or sent an Instagram
Colombia!
message that it's a new era. And I'm going to kick that off by taking all my salary in Bitcoin thanks to Cash App. I wonder what Cash App is paying these dudes because I feel like,
Right.
didn't Aaron Rodgers do
He
this
did.
a couple weeks ago when he was drinking bourbon and looking like a Halloween character before he tested positive for COVID for going to the Halloween party? So it's interesting that these guys are doing it, but I kind of think the whole, like, I'm taking my salary in Bitcoin is funny because I could say I'm taking my salary in Ford F-150s and like just take the salary they pay me and just buy a bunch of Ford F-150s because that's essentially what they're doing. It's not like the team is transferring them Bitcoins. They're just taking their money and buying Bitcoins.
No, I think they are paying him in Bitcoin.
No, they're not. You should do the research on it. They're not. The teams are not buying Bitcoins and then paying the players in Bitcoins. The players are just getting the money and then buying the Bitcoins.
That wouldn't make
So
sense.
it's like, I've decided to invest in Bitcoin would be way less exciting than I'm taking my salary in Bitcoin. I'm taking my salary in Tesla stock. Well, not really. I'm just buying Tesla stock. He actually, if you looked into that story, he actually was not paid in Bitcoin. He was paid and then instantly took that money and bought the Bitcoin equivalent,
Are you serious?
which is the same thing. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It just doesn't sound quite as good as, hey, I've invested in Bitcoin. Yeah, who cares? Hey, I've taken all my salary in Bitcoin. Ooh, that's sexy. That's salacious. Let's talk more.
All right. Well, I think that we nailed it this show. I mean, it feels good. I think that's good for us, man. Everybody enjoy your Thanksgiving. We appreciate you joining us on the Tom and Hawk Football Show. Find us on Amazon Music or wherever you get your podcast, and exclusively on Amazon Music for our Monday minicast. Joe, final thoughts.
Make sure you eat too much turkey. But the most important thing on any good Thanksgiving is that nap that you get after the turkey, in between the second and third football games, after you've had a few glasses of wine, a few beers, and hopefully the kids are running around but not destroying your house too much, so you can get a solid 30, 45 minutes to wake up and then have that espresso martini during the final Thursday night game, which is usually a pretty good game. I'm looking forward to that one.
We call that the itis in my household. All right, guys. Joe, take us out.
Joe Hawk yourself.
Ask Alexa to play the Tom and Hawk Football Show.